My name's Julia Rowlands. I work at Bowden and I'm an ethical trade manager. Ethical trade manager is quite a new role at Bowden. We started it in March of last year, and we set up the role to develop an ethical trade programme within our business, and we really wanted to put more emphasis behind focusing on the ethical trade. It's really looking at the working conditions of the factories, the people within our supply chain, and trying to make sure that they are being treated as we would want to be treated. At the moment, it's quite difficult to define an average day because I am setting up the role and setting up the department. I could be doing some admin one day, out there at the factories working with auditors the next day. It's quite varied. At school, I really liked things like maths, science, which are obviously quite academic subjects, but I also really enjoyed textiles, which is probably where everything kind of stemmed from. By the time I left school, I realised that, textiles was what I wanted to do. I'd wanted to do something within that sector for a while. Then I moved on to college. I actually chose to do textiles as a full-time focus as a national diploma. Both my parents are quite hands-on. They both kind of made homeware, etc. So I guess that's where my first, taster came from. And also, my grandma knits, does crochet, all those sorts of things. So that's kind of where I got interested. Out of our immediate family, I was probably the first one to go on to college. Most of the rest of my family went straight from school into jobs. So they were pretty encouraging. I was actually really fortunate because I was taken on by Marks and Spencer's placement scheme, and there was a couple of people at our university that did it. So they actually placed me with two of their factories in the UK. I did 6 months at each factory, and the experience was invaluable, to be honest. And that was one of the things that helped me get my first role, was the fact that I already had a year's experience in manufacturing, which was really key to the role that I went into. When I left university, I moved into a technologist position at Tesco. The reason I left there was because a lot of the parts of my role that I enjoyed were getting passed back down the supply chain. So essentially I felt as though I was becoming a manager managing other people, rather than actually doing the things that I enjoyed doing. I don't really get a lot of time in the week to myself, so I do try to make the most of the time that I have got. Dancing is just one of those things that I've always been interested in from a little girl, but not really had the opportunities when I was younger. There's been a couple of courses that I've looked at. Obviously there's lots of different type of dance, and one kind of came up, which I've just started now, which is Latin and ballroom. And I enrolled at the end of last year. Fortunately, my husband's decided to join as well, so I have got a dancing partner. If I had to work, clothing and textiles is my ideal industry. If it was something, you win the lottery and you didn't have to work, then I'd probably choose something that's almost completely the opposite. I would want somewhere that was a 5-minute commute from home rather than an hour and a half. I would want somewhere that was possibly, outside in the countryside or in a nice hot country. But as it is, I'm happy doing what I'm doing in the industry that I'm familiar with.